How fast was Wilt Chamberlain actually? I'm going to try to answer that question in this video, but before I do, make sure you like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. That being said, let's just dive right in. Now, I want you to pay attention to what he says in this clip and the times that he gives, and then we'll establish if they're plausible or if they're likely or if they're lies.
Ooh, maybe
under 10 seconds.
No, the 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
Maybe 9.96, 9.5 for the 100-yard dash to 100 meters, which
I know.
maybe around 10.2 in that area. Yeah.
Have you been clocked at this, or are you just
I
dreaming?
I've been sort of clocked at this. It's not all just imagination.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
right.
I'm full of a lot of things, but some things I have done.
And you wanted.
Now, interesting enough, the times that he gave us are absolutely insane. A 10-200 meter dash is world class. Matter of fact, it's so fast that in 1960 would have been enough to win the gold. The 9.5, 9.6 100-yard dash is also extremely fast, but it's kind of interesting about those two numbers, and I'll show you in a second why. But before I do, I want to show you a visual representation of his speed. And by the way, those strides, ridiculous.
Under 2 minutes and 880 yards.
I know you did a
Listen to
4.4
this.
and a 40-yard
4.4.
dash.
What would you do the 100 in?
Look how he dips his head and gets like an extra gear, extra burst.
6.95 for 100-yard dash, 100 meters, around 10.2 in that area.
Have you been clocked at this, or
Absolutely impressive. Absolutely impressive, right? No matter what, we cannot deny that this guy was fast. Whatever numbers we come up with at the end, he was extremely fast, whether we like it or not. That's just truthful. But let's get more specific with numbers. So to do that, we got to establish with what he said was plausible and what we know for a fact. So what we know for a fact, we can create a baseline. For example, in high school between the ages of 16 and 18, Wilt ran a 10-second 100-yard dash, a 20.9-second 220-yard dash, a 48.9 440, and a minute 58.3 880. Now those are incredible times. Even at that speed, it would be insane. But another thing I want to point out, these are the typical numbers or typical times that people point out when they talk about his speed. Now, there's a reason well, let me just continue. He ran a 4.6 40-yard dash at the age of 30. Now, a lot of people go to that number as well. Now, he claimed in the video, if you notice, he also claimed a 4.4 40-yard dash, which is faster than a 4.6. But there's a reason for that. Now, before I explain that, I want you to watch this clip. When he's talking about Jim Brown. It's about 30 seconds long, 20 seconds long, but you'll enjoy it.
Jim, though, did find it very hard to believe that someone of my size could outrun him at what he was supposed to be very, very good at doing. And he would forever, challenge me in races of 40-yard dashes. You know, we'd go out there and do it. I'd go out there and run Jim, beat him, and people would be watching me come back. It would be dark. He says, well, it was close. It was like a tie. I said, come on, Jim.
Could never admit it, huh?
No, he had a hard time.
Now, interesting enough, he didn't just claim that he beat Jim Brown. He claimed he smoked him. And not just once, but multiple times. And by the way, this story has never been proven wrong. Jim Brown has never denied it in his lifetime. And multiple people claimed it. So it's likely that this story is true. The reason that is very impressive and that is very important is because of Jim Brown's documented stats or times. He ran the 100 yards in under 10 seconds, which again, going back here, this is 100% not peak Wilt because he ran it in 10 seconds. So Jim Brown would have been faster in that instance. Same thing with his 40-yard dash, where Jim Brown ran it in 4.5 seconds or 4.5, which would be a problem if this was Wilt's peak speed of 4.640 or 4.640. Again, the point is the baseline, even though it's a great thing to know that at bare minimum this is how fast Wilt was, this is not peak Wilt. Wilt was 100% faster than that. Now the numbers Wilt claimed of a 10.2, a 4.40, or a 4.440, and a 9.5 100-yard dash are absolutely mind-boggling. But the funniest thing about that is those numbers correlate. In other words, if you run a 10 200-meter dash, you're expected to run a 9.5 100-yard dash, and if you run these two, you're expected to run a 4.4 40-yard dash. Now, there's no way Wilt would have known this at that time. So the fact that these are the numbers that he gave out is very likely that these numbers are very close to the truth. Now, could he have exaggerated a little? Absolutely. But the truth is, these numbers are likely towards the truth. Now, even more interesting than this, even if you deny this, by the way, and I'm going to come to some objections in a second. Even if you deny this, and this is not true, let's say Wilt did not run a 10.2, let's say he did not run a 9.5, let's say he did not run a 4.4. Keep in mind, these times were from the early 1960s and the late 1950s. Why is that important? Well, the surfaces have changed for track and field. Back in the day, they used to use cinder. Now they use synthetic surfaces, which, by the way, it has been proven without a shadow of a doubt that synthetic surfaces makes it easier for people to run faster. So Wilt's times, no matter what, right, would be more impressive today than they were then. Whether they were a 10.2 or a 10.4 or a 10.6, whatever number you want to give them, right? Now, why exactly do I believe a 10.2 is probably correct and why these numbers are correct? Well, simply, the likelihood that he would nail it on the head on the correlated times is very unlikely. Secondly, he is faster than people who are also very fast and by a wide margin, apparently, like Jim Brown, which could only be explained if his difference in the 100-yard dash time, for example, or the 40-yard dash were significant. Now, that is another reason. But how about objections? See, someone had brought this objection to me a long time ago, and I didn't really understand it. I was like, oh, that's a good point. Bo Jackson, right? Great objection. Shout out to G Rising on Twitter or X. He brought up that Bo Jackson ran a 10.39 100-meter dash, which is slower than what Wilt claimed, but he ran a 4.13 40-yard dash, which is insanely fast, by the way. Now, is that a problem for Wilt? Well, the simple answer is no, because A, correlated times are not always 100%. So it's possible, not probable, but possible, that Bo Jackson is just much faster on the 40-yard dash time than he is the 100-yard dash time. And speaking of correlated times, if he ran a 4.1, it's very unlikely that he ran a 10.39. He would have been a lot faster, which bears to the second problem with it, is there is a possibility that this number is inaccurate, the 4.13. Now, why would that be inaccurate if it was electronically timed? Well, let's just look up Usain Bolt, the fastest man ever, right? Let me just show you that, for example. Usain Bolt ran a 4.22. Now, when did he run this? Well, to be honest with you, from the looks of it, not that long ago. This was after his peak, right? This is not 23-year-old Usain Bolt. This would have been closer to 2015, 2016. But there's a problem for Bo Jackson because in 2016, Usain Bolt ran a 9.81 in 2016 to win gold. That is significantly faster than Bo Jackson. So again, the times do not correlate well for Bo Jackson. So the likelihood is that Bo Jackson's times are off instead of Wilt's, which is just addressing an objection that I know I was going to get. I know, G Rising. I saw you like my tweet. That's why I addressed it. But that being said, just leave it at the end. Wilt Chamberlain probably did run a 10.2. He probably did run a 9.5. He likely ran a 4.4. Why? Well, that is a very reasonable improvement from his baseline stats or times from high school. And, not to point it out, they correlate with each other like I said before. That being said, obviously I can't convince you. I'm going to choose to believe it just because of from what I've seen. It makes sense, it's logical, and it's probably likely. But, even if you don't believe it, the fact of life is he would be clocked at a faster time today, no matter what you give him, because of the surfaces. And on top of that, he was not the only athlete in the NBA that was super athletic. Bill Russell was super athletic. Maybe one day I'll make a video about Bill Russell. But, that being said, that's the end of the video. God bless you. Jesus loves you. And I hope I simplified this as much as possible. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.